All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us on another edition of ExtremeHealthRadio.com. We're really excited to have Michael King on the line today. It's going to be a fun show. We're going to talk about herbs and cleansing and clay, all the great stuff he's got over at vitalityherbsandclay.com. So we'll talk about that, but I'm really excited. Today is Wednesday, November 28th, 2012, and this is episode 41. Excuse me. So you could find this show at extremehealthradio.com/41. And thank you to Mr. Mike Adams of naturalnewsradio.com for having us on his network. We really appreciate him having our show there. If you have any questions for me or for the guest, feel free to email me at justin@extremehealthradio.com, or you can call our voicemail line, which is 949-391-7363. And if you want to find us on Facebook, feel free to do that. You can check that out at extremehealthradio.com/Facebook, and you can follow us on there. And this show, just to let you know, is brought to you by the Bellicon Rebounder. It's one of my favorite rebounders on the market. I think it's the Rolls Royce of all rebounders. So you can check it out at extremehealthradio.com/Bellicon. That's BELLICON for more information. And before I introduce Michael King, I want to talk a little bit about our upcoming show schedule. We've got lots of great guests. We're booking all the way into March now, and it's just amazing how quickly the show's growing. So thank you all. This Friday, we've got Sally Fallon, who is the director of the Weston A. Price Foundation. So that'll be a good show, talking to her about all of that. And then on Monday, we've got Dr. Dawn Ewing. She does a lot of work in Texas with thermography and meridian stress assessment, blood work, and heavy metal detoxes and cleanses. And she understands the role of biological dentistry. So that should be a great show. And then we've got Konstantin Monastreski next Wednesday at this time. And he wrote a book called The Fiber Menace. And he makes some pretty bold claims that fiber is very, very unhealthy for you. So that should be interesting. We like to rock the boat a little bit here at Extreme Health Radio. But today we've got Michael King on the line, dropping in from Oregon, and he's a life enrichment consultant, a researcher of nature's most powerful healing resources all over the world. And he's the author of Detoxify, Nourish, and Build, 3 essentials for vibrant health. So thanks a lot, Michael, for joining us all the way up there in Oregon.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So is that book available on your website?
It is. Anyone who signs up for our newsletter, will receive a free copy of the books. It's actually broken into several parts. There's some recipes. There's some a clean diet description, and the basis of the Detoxify, Nourish, and Build protocol. And so you'll get that for free when you sign up for the newsletter. It's on the right column of all of our web pages.
Wow. Is that something that they could just download in a digital format?
That's correct. And so it's automatic. We are also in the process of updating it and putting it out in print form. And that'll take a while because we've gotten a lot more information we'd like to add to it. But it's a very good overview as it is of the basic principles of what kind of food combining practices are causing a lot of health problems, even among the health foodists. It's really good about the basic principle of approaching physical health from the standpoint of dealing with all the major causes of real disease rather than treating a specific disease. In other words, a disease, we don't really believe there are such things as disease. They are just names that are invented by the medical profession to make you think you caught something, when in fact, every imbalance in the body is really caused by either a toxicity or a malnourishment, some nutrient or mineral imbalance, or a lack of food combining, the proper diet, and sometimes weakened systems from, say, sugar use or inheritance, things like that. So and then of course attitudes and belief systems, and that lead us to certain lifestyles. So these are the basic 5 areas that if we concentrate on resolving the incorrectness in these areas, and get back to what would be closer to the true nature of life, the true way we were designed to live as a divine human being, then our health will automatically restore back to perfection. Now, it's to the degree that we actually get there, but it means detoxify the body. It means nourish the body to the absolute max, and we use superfoods and seaweeds and algae more so than vegetables for that purpose. And then and build system strength. So we repair the weakened the exhausted adrenals. We repair the thyroid, the whole endocrine system. We make sure the liver and the intestines are working properly and cleansing properly and providing nutrients and assimilating properly. And these are done usually with therapeutic herbs or as a part of the detoxification process, utilizing clay baths, and some very basic earth-based sources of nutrition. And of course, changing the diet is a huge part of being able to restore health no matter what the problem is. And of course, there's a lot of controversy about what kind of diet is going to work. You know, bottom line is it's a diet that your intuition guides you is ultimately the truest diet for you, and it's going to be different for everyone. Right. But there are a few basic guidelines, like food combining, like not combining an oil with a sweet, or like a fruit with a nut, dropping bananas from the smoothies altogether, not eating so many nuts, period. These are some rules that are not commonly understood in the health world, and it's causing imbalances tremendously. So the Candida overgrowth is just going off the charts, and people are not knowing why. Well, largely it's the diet. So changes of the diet include proper food combining and eliminating certain foods from the diet entirely, and especially in the sweeter categories, and the hard to digest foods. And then the supplement regimen. So that's another biggie from our perspective. We see that most people are still utilizing the store-bought supplements where you have vitamin A, B, C, D, and minerals in there of like calcium and magnesium, and they're assembled first separately by some laboratory and then put together in a formula. So they've taken Mother Nature apart in order to come up with these isolated compounds, and they throw them into a formula in a laboratory, and they put them in a capsule and try to pretend that this is going to be your food and your medicine. And we're suggesting that that's junk science. We're suggesting that that's really not the best way to go. Right. We believe that Mother Nature didn't make a mistake when she created the earth, the earthen sources like clays and certain mineral sources that are edible, and the herbs in their whole form and certain foods in their whole forms. You know, we believe that the least damage we do to her creations, the more benefit the body will derive from them. So that's how we approach this, in rebalancing the body, giving it back, giving you back your health by getting as close to nature, the way nature originally designed diets and lifestyles for the human being as we possibly can in the moment.
Yeah, I love that. Is not fragmenting things out and not fragmenting our foods. Your website is, am I correct in saying it's pyroclay, Pyro clay.com?
That is one of them. It will redirect you to their new website, which as of a number of years ago is called Vitality Herbs and spelled out A&D clay.com.
Okay, Vitality Herbs and clay.com. So, Michael, before we get into a little farther, this is just fascinating so far. How did you get started doing all of this work?
Well, I was pretty unhealthy as a child. I inherited a severe dysregulation in the blood sugar department from parents. My mother was diabetic. My father was severe low blood sugar, to fainting spells from time to time, and So I was always on the low side. I was a major sugar holic. I was a major junk food addict.
Who isn't these days, right?
Yeah, right.
It's like everybody.
And I knew nothing about health. My parents knew nothing about, good diets or whatever, and they did the traditionals. I had, all the immunization shots. And then in high school, I was on antibiotics for a couple of years. And it just about cleaned my clock. By the time I got into college, I had no real memory capability. It was surprising. It was kind of shocking because, I was coming in, I barely scraped through that. And the first year was very difficult because I couldn't remember the facts, and that's just basically what education is these days. You gotta have a good memory, or else you just don't survive. Yeah. Well, by the time I got out of college, I had a 2.23 GPA, by the way, at the end of all that, and that's how close it came to not making it. I had, but when I graduated, I ended up seeing I had chronic fatigue. I had lots of digestive problems, fuzzy brain all the time, and heart irregularities and all kinds of stuff was going on. It was just a list, and it seemed to be growing by the year. And so I walked into my first health food store in 1976 and started picking the books off the shelf and studying them and looking for answers. And I found a few, and I went through the mega vitamin craze, that was very common back in the 70s, 80s, and even to this day. And I realized that while it has some benefits, it's not going to work. And then I came across the herbs, and that started making sense because as I took a popular Chinese formula in large quantities, I started to feel for the first time in my life what it felt like to have a normal amount of mental focus and energy. And I was very impressed with that. And I also was very impressed at one point when I dropped all of my fruits and sugars for 60 days. I noticed a significant surge in health during that time. And so I started putting two and two together and became aware of earth and other earthen sources like the clays and the power to heal the body. And so I kept studying them, but the herbs really caught my attention because, first of all, they are generally going to be in a whole form, unless you have isolates, unless you have extract versions of that, which I'm not a great fan of them, the tinctures and all. Not that they are not always recommended, but truthfully, ideally an herb deserves to be consumed in its whole form with the fiber. And that's how you get every nutrient that plant has to offer. Not everything is extracted out of an herb. And those fibers are part of the healing benefits. So the common sense of sticking with nature as close as possible, I mean, given a certain amount of convenience factor, that's why we encapsulate, which is just because of the taste. A lot of people don't handle the bitterness, but there's a certain amount of processing that we need in order to just get something rather than nothing into our body. But nevertheless, the principle of sticking with whole earthen sources is what started to grow over the years. And so it's still, I battled health problems even even into the 90s, because I didn't understand diet very well. And I was taking a few herbs, what I could find in the health food store, and I did a lot of Chinese formulas and so forth, and and it helped a lot, but I was constantly battling things because I didn't understand food combining, and I was still, going to the fast food restaurants and so forth because I was working in construction, and you're all over town. Yeah. And and I was there in L.A. doing this, learning a lot of this. And so anyway, it turned out that I was as I kind of came to the end of that road, I started discovering how minerals were major improvement to my health. I was able to eliminate 45 years of blood sugar problems in 7 days with high levels of minerals.
Really?
Earth and minerals, full spectrum minerals that basically derive from the earth, and that means it has 70, 80, maybe 90, who knows, different mineral forms in there, and they're balanced by nature. Well, I was able to correct a number of my health problems just by large amounts of earthen sources and herbs. And then I realized I'm not going to find everything I really want in the health food world, so I started manufacturing my own. And the first thing that I made was a tea that eventually grew to 80 herbs or so in that tea, because I was trying to do the one-stop shop, in my morning drinks as an alternative to coffee. And it was called Sumaraj. It is called Sumaraj. And it's gone through a number of evolutions over the years, last 13 years since we've started manufacturing. And sure enough, that launched when people said, you need to make this for the public, it's right place, right time. My friends and family were saying, this is something I need to do. Then I ended up quitting all of my other pursuits and focusing entirely on developing herbal formulas. And so I started making one herbal formula after the next based on either a family person's need or my own need or what seemed to make common sense. And that's how this company has grown. And it's mostly word of mouth, by the way. We don't do much advertising other than occasional radio show like this, and mostly the rest of it's pretty much word of mouth. That's
amazing. So now you're up in, I think, Oregon and doing your whole business from there.
That's right. Ashland, Oregon. Excellent. Great place.
Wow.
I love being here.
We have to take a short break, but there's so many questions I have for you. We are with Michael King from Vitality Herbs and Clay. That's the website, vitalityherbsandclay.com if you are interested. We're with Michael King, and we'll be right back after this break. Hey there, thanks for listening to the interview so far. I wanted to tell you quickly about a product called the Longevity Now program. It's put together by David Wolf, who, if you haven't heard, is one of the most prolific authors out there. He's a world's leading authority on raw food nutrition and just an amazing guy. So we've been following his work for many, many years, and he's doing a lot of groundbreaking work in the area of calcium and how to dissolve these bad calcium deposits in our body, and that's what's responsible for fibrosis and calcium buildup, and essentially that's what takes down all mammals. Getting rid of this bad calcium in your body is imperative if you want to live a long, healthy, disease-free life. So the Longevity Now conference, you can either attend it or you could purchase the DVDs and the workbooks online, and I've done both, and they're extremely powerful. They're very motivating, and it helps you follow a protocol that will help you prevent and reverse diseases. It's incredible. So I would highly recommend you check it out. You can learn more at extremehealthradio.com/longevity. And please visit our sponsors, as this is the way that we're helping to maintain ourselves and to get to a level of sustainability. So thank you so much for listening, and let's get back to this interview. All right, we are with Michael King from vitalityherbsandclay.com. And Michael, I get a lot of emails about Candida, and, we're all over the world, so we get tons of emails about that kind of thing. And I only learned about Candida when I started getting interested in the health industry. And it's funny, most people who just eat regular diets don't seem to worry too much about Candida, but Candida is always being dealt with by the people who are supposedly healthy, right?
It is, and it's also dealt with by the populace. It's just that the body has a way of protecting itself by, and when you eat a consistent diet that's bad, then it shuts down certain mechanisms because of the extreme levels of toxicity, and starts storing it in different places. And that's why at this point we're seeing an early death rate. We're seeing diseases increasing later on in life, and then we're seeing the adult onset diabetes and osteoporosis in children. Young children.
Is Candida related to cancer? Have you looked into that research? Is there a connection there?
There's definitely a connection and Candida overgrowth is actually underlying the vast majority of the health problems that we experience. And the reason for that is actually once it's understood, it's actually commonsensical. It's a function of the body to consume the higher levels of sugar that the body that is being consumed. It consumes the sugar that we cannot process effectively. And part of the reason why Candida is so central to health problems as well as to the normal health food diet as well, and why a lot of the health foodists actually end up dealing with it in worse ways, seemingly, is because of the combination of an oil and a sweet in the same meal, and that causes an interference with the production of bile fluids out of the liver going through the gallbladder into the intestines that would normally emulsify or digest that oil. When that process is inhibited by a high acid state in the body, and it causes the bile to get thick, then the bile doesn't flow out of the liver. It forms stones instead, or just a thick goo, and it doesn't get out of the gallbladder, assuming you still have one, and it doesn't actually come in contact with the oil when the oil comes down the pike. Now that oil then gets into the bloodstream and in an undigested form. Now that is the cause, or the original, biologically speaking, cause of why Candida overgrowth goes off the charts. And that is because if you consume, let's say, a bread with butter, as an example, or worse yet, a rice cracker with almond butter on it. So now you have a starch which converts to sugar, and you have the almond butter, which is a hard-to-digest, oily product. And if you're already high acid, or you have some impairment with respect to producing bile, or you're consuming more sweets and not enough bitter herbs which stimulate bile, then the bile will not contact that nut butter. This is one of the biggest compromises that causes Candida overgrowth in the health foodists, so I'll concentrate on that.
Okay.
And then if you put nuts and bananas, as an example, or use the worst of all fruits for health foodists to be consuming, into the same smoothie, like a nut milk, and God forbid with flax oil, in the same smoothie with an apple or a banana, then now you have a food combining problem that increases the sugar load in the bloodstream, creates a problem with the production of bile, and the bile and undigested oils get in the bloodstream, which interfere with insulin finding the sugar in the bloodstream, meaning the body has to send its backup measure, and it's your friend at this point. It's called Candida.
Right.
It's your friend. It's an essential component of body functions and the digestion of your food, and especially the transformation of sugars in the body. However, the body sends the Candida out after that sugar to eat it back down to a healthy level. So it's saving your life, you could say. However, because it's being fed with its prime food source, sugar, then it's causing a bloom, so that you have a fungal bloom. And so you have fungus in the bloodstream to start with, and then because that's where you get your fuzzy brain from. And then you have a lack of digestion of food in the intestines, and so one of its second jobs, the fungus in the body, one of its second jobs is to go after undigested food. Now, we know this is true because in the forest, it is the job of fungus, mushrooms, to break down the hard cellulose of wooded products. And that's a very important aspect of turning forest matter into soil. And the fungi is a critical component. Well, the fungi in the body is a critical component Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why I heartily recommend consuming large amounts of healthful mushrooms, organic always, otherwise they concentrate too many poisons from pesticides and all, or wild-crafted. And the shiitake mushrooms, which is one of the more popular ones available in bulk form, should go into every veggie dish, and as often as possible, put it into your dishes. Okay, whatever it is. So the mushrooms are very helpful for your digestion and for modulating or balancing out your immune system, whether it's high or low. And so this is really important component. And so the Candida is just another form of, a mushroom, you could say, but it's a fungus. Mm-hmm. And it's helpful. It's just that when we have a lot of undigested food in our system, and we have high sugar levels, and then a third component is the heavy metals, which we get from our amalgam teeth fillings, our dental fillings, and now we have heavy metals going into our intestinal tract on a daily basis. It's like taking a daily antibiotic. And so the fungus is there to help, convert or transform those heavy metals. And, of course, it's blooming in the gut. And this is the reason why you see these people with big pot bellies, skinny arms. It's not like they're overweight everywhere. They're just overweight in the intestines, where it's filled with fungus.
So now it's interesting because most people listening, I'm sure everyone listening actually, have been taught that consuming the fats with the sugars actually helps to moderate and give you a slow burn on the sugar so that your body doesn't get the sugar spike and the crash. But you're saying something just the opposite of that.
Yes. And this was learned from years of trial and error, not really understanding why the health foods I was consuming was making me sick, frankly. And I didn't put it two and two together until I started looking carefully into what the organs are doing in our body and what their functions are and how they work, and started realizing why, when I take my Essene, or the Essene bread, manna bread, and I put coconut oil on it, which is actually one of the safer of the oils because it is more pre-digested, so you can get away with a certain amount of food compromise or food combining impropriety with coconut oil that you can't get away with other oils. But nevertheless, even that, the bread was causing a high sugar level, because it's a grain, it's a start. And even if it is sprouted and low heat and everything, it still causes a sugar rush, and then I put the oil on it, and I would get a Candida bloom. So I was trying to figure that one out, and then I realized that when I saw in the research that undigested oils in the bloodstream interfere with insulin metabolism of sugar, then I was able to put two and two together and realize, here's our problem. So we're combining food improperly. Go ahead.
If people look at their tongue, do you think that that's accurate when they have that little white kind of film? Is it necessary for us to have a little bit of Candida and a little bit of that white on our tongue, or should a tongue in a properly functioning human body be completely pink and not have any of that?
Well, that's a good question, and frankly, I can't. I'm not an expert in that area of tongue diagnosis. I do know it's a very valid science, but I would say you do need some fungus. You need some Candida in the body. The historical ratio is 15%, and I don't of all your biologics there, but I don't really know. Honestly, I suspect when your body is in perfect balance, you will generally have a pink tongue. That's just my suspicion, but
probably
don't
like
quote me on that. But
like animals do, you look at their tongues and they're completely pink because they're not, if they're not eating a lot of starchy materials like conventional animal dog food and stuff. But
exactly.
Wow. So this Candida, do you think that there's an issue with people's bodies, I guess, to start with? Because if you had a body that was completely healthy and running completely optimal and wasn't subjected to mercury and have all these things, do you think it would be possible for people to eat like a starch with an oil, or is that never something that you would recommend?
I believe normally we would be able to.
Yeah.
I believe that in this day and age, we have so compromised our blood sugar regulation system, and through the use of antibiotics even as an infant, even one time can cause a lifetime of struggling with insufficient friendly bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe genuinely that if we were fully stocked with the 4.5 pounds of friendly bacteria in our intestines, and we did not have amalgam fillings that kill friendly bacteria in the body, and we were in our blood sugar regulators had not had a history or 4th, 5th, 6th generation sugar user kind of effect. So we have now, we're born with adrenal exhaustion, and we're born with pancreatic imbalances because of a concentrated sugar use, which is another sort of pet peeve of ours, the use of concentrated sweeteners like stevia drops or stevia white concentrate or agave syrup or honey at times, even though honey is a very wise sweetener at times, but it cannot in this day and age be combined with the bread or anything else that would increase the sugar content in the body, any other starch, and certainly not an oil. We have to be so much more careful, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So the stevia powder, if you were going to use it, you might use like the green leaf stevia powder instead of that white concentrated.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. The green stevia leaf ground into a powder is the only way I would consume the stevia plant.
We had recently Dr. Lita Lee on, and I think she's up in Seattle, somewhere up in near your area, but she was talking a lot about these nuts and especially almonds. She was really down on almonds and talked about how they have these polyunsaturated fatty acids, the PUFAs that she mentioned. And it doesn't sound like you're too big a fan of nuts either.
No, I was a major nut fiend at one time, and I found that when I consumed a bag of cashews, as an example, I would break out with cold sores. I would have constipation. I would have a Candida bloom. I'd get fuzzy brain faster. And it took me a long time to figure this out, that what's wrong with nuts? You think they're a good health food. And so I just dropped them. And then I started getting calls. I get calls from various health foodists who have been on long-term what they call good health food diets. And they're just struggling with their health and the Candida overgrowth and not knowing why. And so I ask them the basic questions. Number one, are you consuming bananas? You need to get those out of your diet 100%. Are you consuming nuts? Are you consuming store-bought supplements or things that are commonly prescribed by nutritionists and naturopaths, in their regimen? These isolated compounds of CoQ10 and folic acid and vitamin A, B, C, whatever. So those are the three big things that need to leave the health foodist diet: standard supplements, bananas, and nuts. And that's the beginning of regaining health, right then and there. And so just by changing those three areas alone, and going on to earthen sources of superfoods and relying upon the superfoods like the seaweeds and the algae, and we have a formula called Earth and Sea Greens that we use for that purpose. It's got like 60 or so components, and we have no vegetables in our superfood green because we consider that a waste of nutrient space. Vegetables are weak in nutrition, and they make it taste worse anyway. So we don't put fruits in there unless they're bitter fruits like Cassandra berries or things that are bitter in their composition, and so like Triphala, berries bitter. So these fruits are acceptable, but most of the high sugary fruits like pears and the bananas and some of the other high sugar. Berries are safer if you're going to, do a fruit. But if you're going to do a fruit, we recommend eating it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, and not later in the day when it's too easy to get too close to a meal. Especially if you're already compromised in your blood sugar regulating capacity. So these kind of changes in the diet is what we recommend, and then get on to some herbs that build the system strength. And we see some very good, rather relatively fast turnaround on people who are able to make these changes and be consistent with the diet.
Wow.
But the diet just matters. It just makes such a big difference.
Yeah, it's a huge issue for people. We are with Michael King from, his website is Vitality Herbs and Clay, and go on over there and get on their mailing list. It's a little box on the right-hand side, and you can get that book, Detoxify, Nourish, and Build, and it's about 80 pages, and I suggest you do that. It's really good stuff. So check out his website, and we are with, again, Michael King from Vitality Herbs and Clay, and we'll be right back after this break. If you have been interested in health for any amount of time, you probably understand how critically important the adrenals are for your overall health, longevity, disease prevention, and feelings of vitality. And I'd like to promote a product by Kevin Gianni. He's done some great work with a Dr. J.E. Williams to put together a program called the Adrenal Health Program, and you can find it at extremehealthradio.com/adrenal. But you have adrenal problems if you have the inability to sleep, or maybe you feel tired, or maybe you sleep too much and you just don't feel rested, or maybe you just feel anxious or agitated. Perhaps you have cold, sweaty hands or feet. Maybe you have excessive body odor or cravings like for sugar and salt. Some people with adrenal fatigue have ratchy and itchy skin and muscle cramping. Maybe they have excessive urination or the inability to handle stress, excessive body heat and feeling wired all the time. Maybe you have a lack of libido. These can all be tied to adrenal fatigue, and I strongly recommend this product. It comes with over 4 hours of intense audio materials along with a workbook and complete action plans for testing your adrenal health at home. So this is really, really a great product for your overall health and getting your adrenal fatigue and adrenal exhaustion taken care of. It comes as a physical product or as an e-product, and they're two different prices. So you can learn more about all of this information at extremehealthradio.com/adrenal. So thanks for listening, and let's get back to this interview. All right, we are with Michael King from vitalityherbsandclay.com, and I just want to be upfront with everybody. We are an affiliate with Michael King and his business and his company because we really believe in the products that he is making and manufacturing. So if you do purchase some products from him, just let him know that you heard about it from Extreme Health Radio, and that would be great. And he'll get some sales, and we'll get a commission, and everyone will be happy, and you will get some great products. So I just wanted to put that out there. Sorry. And
we will give each one of your clients a gift. It is a free 2-week sample of Earthen Ormus. It combines our 3 basic Ormus-bearing clays with a small amount of some of our other minerals and humic acids, and it's designed to Ormus-bearing. Probably most of your audience understands what that is, monatomic elements, but we call these the happy clays, and they open the heart. They enhance your chi. They move your meridians at a more advanced rate, and they balance your hormones, naturally speaking. So, and it takes very, very small amounts. One of our Ormus clays called Ormalite only takes 1/30th of a teaspoon for most people, not everyone. Some need more. But they're very powerful, very effective. And so we provide a product in which they're combined for everyone who orders on our website and mentions either Extreme Health Radio. You can put the spaces between it or put it together as one word as you wish, or just Justin, and I'll soon have that loaded. Justin, either one, you can put it in the coupon code, and it will automatically load the Earthen Ormus. Or if you put it in the comments section, or if you send us an email to that effect, or if you mention it on the telephone when you call us, if you want to place an order by phone and talk to one of our customer service reps, then you can mention either one of those names. We will connect the dots. Our desire is to always circle back to anyone who refers someone to us. And so we want to give Justin, in support of his radio service to the world, 10% of your order. And so just be sure, and then we will send you that free gift of Earth and Ormus 2-week supply.
Oh, that's great. And if people are interested in Ormus, we did a show, as you know, with Barry Carter. I believe you're very familiar with him. Oh, yeah. And if people are interested in that show, they can go to extremehealthradio.com/15 and listen to our interview with Barry Carter. So some of these products, I wanted to ask you, what are the difference between like bentonite clay, zeolite clay, and the different types of pyrophyllite clay that you have? What are all the differences there?
Well, to start off, I'm a great fan of all clays. So I'm not knocking any of these other clays, but I just want to discuss these differences in terms of deriving the greatest benefit from a clay source in a most balanced fashion. I have found that a pyrophyllite clay outperforms the other clays. It's the reason why that's why I provide it. So the differences are, let's take the most popular calcium bentonite, which is also oftentimes referred to as a montmorillonite. Well, it's a great clay. Montmorillonites are small particle size. So small particle size matters when it comes to a clay. Okay. A sodium bentonite is a much larger particle size, generally speaking, and it's a swelling clay, and it's generally going to be quite constipating and more problematic in terms of sucking up nutrients and so forth. A calcium montmorillonite, which is like your living clay and your, I think Redmond clay, Pascalite, most of the clays out there are calcium montmorillonite, which is a very good clay. It has a certain amount of benefits. The problem that I have with a calcium montmorillonite, I like the small particle size. I don't like the higher amounts of calcium for the current world that we live in. Most people are already calcium dense in their diet from the dairy products and other things. And so we need a more balanced array of minerals, more predominant in a magnesium, if possible. And so we provide, a non-clay source called Ancient Mineral Blend. That's, even though it has calcium and magnesium, it also has a lot of potassium, and so it creates a wonderful blend. It's very balanced. And we also provide the pyrophyllite, which has a roughly identical portions of calcium, magnesium, potassium, and some others. And we have very high electrolyte content. Okay. Roughly 10% of the clay itself are electrolytes, the major electrolytes. Both they are acid-forming and alkaline-forming electrolytes, which is what we want in our body, because you need both acid and alkaline in order to perform various body functions. But it needs to be in a balance. So if you have a predominancy of calcium, then we're already overworked in that area. It's just going to worsen some conditions, even though there's always some good benefit from getting those minerals in your body. Okay. But so magnesium is being overbalanced. And right now we need all the magnesium we can get because the toxins of our environment are using up our magnesium stores. So in a quick note on that, if we try to supplement a single magnesium source, I don't care if it's the best source in the world, it's the most ionic, it's the most whatever, micromanaging our mineral profiles is one of the other reasons why health problems exist.
What do you mean by micromanaging? Just isolating different minerals and things?
Correct. Okay. So if you were to take a magnesium supplement for its laxative benefits, you can ultimately cause chronic fatigue and a host of problems due to calcium deficiencies. If you take calcium alone because you feel like you need more bone strength, you can not only increase or worsen osteoporosis by taking calcium, you can also cause heart attacks, strokes, and sudden death from getting too much calcium in the body. Why is that? It's because the role of calcium in the muscles is to contract the muscles. The role of magnesium is to relax the muscles. And the other electrolytes like potassium play roles in all of that as well. when the heart muscle gets so much calcium and not enough magnesium, or it runs out of these relaxing muscle electrolytes, and it's got a predominance of calcium, the heart muscle contracts, but it doesn't relax, and it creates a heart attack or it causes sudden death. That's basically when you die, because your heart isn't pumping anymore.
Wow. Yeah,
so that's how dangerous it is to try to micromanage using isolated compounds of any kind, whether it be a mineral, a hormone, and this is a biggie, whether it be a bioidentical hormone or any other kind of isolated compound, or vitamin or single mineral, whatever. Now, so that's micromanaging, and it's very, very dangerous. And so we recommend taking whole clays as a mineral source, or whole seaweeds powdered as necessary, or whatever, sprinkle it on your food, whatever, take some capsules of it. And we have mineral sources, and we have seaweed, algae, or superfood greens, earth and sea greens. And we have all these for a reason. It's because the body needs these nutrients from a source that was balanced by nature, not a laboratory.
Yeah, it makes sense to take things in their whole food form. In a couple of minutes, I have to break off for Natural News, so I may have to cut in. That's for Mike Adams and Natural News Radio. But I wanted to ask you just a little bit, can you just kind of break down a little bit about the clay and what clay does? Because it's super, super detoxifying, and it's something that people can take on a daily basis to sort of detox their colon and liver, isn't it?
That's correct. And so I would say, yes, we take a tablespoon or more of our sacred clay, which is the pyrophyllite clay, which I consider to be the finest type of clay in the world. Okay. And we have the type of deposit young enough to make it the most effective for lots of reasons, which you can learn on the website. The reason why it works so well is because why the clays in general, because it provides 60, 70, 80 minerals in a proportion by nature. Your body knows exactly what to do with it. It will break it apart into all of its different components, and it will reassemble it according to the body's own wisdom, and then it will deliver it exactly where it needs to go in proper proportion. The body knows how to work with a natural substance. So the clays are essential. They will bond with heavy metals. They will bond. This is how you neutralize a heavy metal. You bond with it. You, like sodium and chloride create salt. Well, you bond with radiation, and you can neutralize radiation. You bond with a heavy metal like mercury, and you can neutralize it. So it's no longer has that free electron, and the body can either utilize it or pass it from the body more readily. So clays are powerful at detoxification. Clay baths. We had an auto mechanic who found 1/8 of an inch of an oil slick on the bottom of his first clay bath with our sacred clay. Wow. That tells you how powerful it can be. I mean, not that everybody's going to see that sort of thing, but there's a lot of toxins that will leave the body from the bloodstream through the skin and either get sweated out or get delivered right through the cell wall out of the bloodstream and into the bath clay. So we recommend a clay bath, preferably every day, but not everyone's schedule supports that. We have a hot tub. We put a bunch of clay in it. We soak in it maybe 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night, or 30 or longer as we wish, because it's readily made and is warm. But baths on a regular basis will accelerate your health program tenfold. Now, and that's not an exaggeration.
Can somebody do these baths even in conventional city water? Is there an issue there?
Yes. By all means, I would never do a bath in conventional city water without clay, because the clay will suck up the chemicals, and it will help to prevent any kind of toxification from the bath.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, we have to break off from Natural News Radio. Thank you to Mike Adams for having us on his station. I appreciate that. All right, so with the clay, I wanted to ask you more. Now, with some of the clays, if you take them internally, they'll say on the bottle, take this away from food, because if you take it with food, I think they say it won't work as well, or it might bind up some of the minerals and nutrients from the food and not work as well. With your clays, can you take them with food, or do you have to take them on an empty stomach?
I heartily recommend taking our pyrophyllite clay and or the ancient mineral blend, which is a non-clay source, with food.
With food?
I would not, with food. And there's a simple reason why. most of your bentonites are going to be very ancient deposits. They're millions of years old. And so a lot of the amorphous silica, and this is the key nutrient, amorphous silica, which would otherwise make nutrients more bioavailable by escorting them through the cell wall, is going to be less predominant in some of your bentonite clays. Because of the age. Over time, it's all made from lava, and when lava is young, it has a lot of amorphous silica. When it's old, it converts to crystal silica, quartz crystals, and so it's not bioavailable and doesn't create what an amorphous silica clay will create, which is orthosilicic acids. Orthosilicic acids. Now, if you look up orthosilicic acids, you will find that is referred to as an anti-aging nutrient, and it is like an escort for nutrients through the cell wall. It's a ligand, and the use of orthosilicic acid, it also helps to create collagen. It helps to rebuild cells. So we see sometimes scarless recovery of open wounds if you get the clay on quick enough. Otherwise, it's minor scarring. It has a lot to do with the collagen that gets built quickly and whether you have enough silica or not for that purpose.
And you're talking about putting it on right after the injury kind of thing.
Correct, right away. And the sooner you get it on and the more abundant and the longer you leave it on for days as necessary, changing it frequently, you will find a more scarless rebuilding of open wounds.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you have so many great products. I mean, the clay is just one part of it. You also have digestive bitters and things like that. Now, with the bitters and those types of things, like currently I take, digestive enzymes and I take hydrochloric acid from time to time. I've kind of played around with different things. If you have the digestive bitters, do you need to take those particular supplements, or is that kind of an all-in-one product there? Yeah,
digestive bitters eliminates the need for digestive enzymes, and it eliminates the need for hydrochloric acid. And even sacred clay will improve your digestion for the reason of it, especially improving hydrochloric acid. Mainly because all of these things are composed of minerals, first of all, and secondly, your digestive enzymes can be manufactured by your own pancreas to the tune of over 3,000 different enzymes. That's a pancreatic function. The reason why we have a loss of digestive enzyme isn't because we get older. It's because we get more toxic, or we wear out our pancreas, or we have such poor food combining practices that we use up all the minerals that are required to either buffer acids or create acids in the stomach properly. And so digestive spices, simple stuff, fennel, cardamom, coriander, these are digestive spices that are common, turmeric. And they not only help to produce bile fluids, which digest your oils, but they also help to stimulate the action of the pancreas. And the pancreas will manufacture its 3,000 enzymes, more than enough variety for you that will outperform one of those bottled enzyme supplements with 5 or 10 whatever enzymes. It's when you think about it, it's laughable. When you think about trying to put enzymes in a capsule and say, here's your replacement for what your body's not doing. Yeah. When the better wisdom, the wiser way to approach this is to nourish your body's organs back to their health so they can produce the 3,000 enzymes, in this case. So they can produce those hormones properly rather than hormone replacement therapy, which will absolutely wreak havoc on your hormone system. Again, it's micromanaging. Then you nourish your adrenal glands and your thyroid gland and your pineal and pituitary, etc. You nourish them back to perfect health, and then they will manufacture all those hormones. So, you see, that's how we approach restoring health. And digestive bitters will not only, bitter herbs stimulate bile production, so now you're going to get bile production. It also has kind of an alkalizing influence, so you're going to get fluid bile production. And bile has a laxative impact on the body, So you will clean out more effectively when you do bitter herbs. So that's built into the digestive bitters formula. And then the bitter spices, or the digestive spices, are built in there also to make sure you get pancreatic function, building all those enzymes in just the right proportion, and so the body can deliver them exactly where they need to go at the right time. You leave all of the details up to the wisdom of the body already built into this amazing mechanism. All we do is nourish it so the body can then create its own nutrient formulations or medicines as you wish and heal itself. That's the only way to make this work.
Yeah, I like that. I like that approach, because even with the natural side of health, you're still using supplements and enzymes as a crutch to the tune that, you're assuming your body can't do it on its own. But when you start nourishing the body and you start focusing on health and regenerating your organs, all of these things should be possible for your body, but we just damaged ourselves so much that our bodies don't function correctly. So restoring that, I really like that approach. Can some of your products be used, like on the garden or with animals or things like that? Yes,
we use for both. Some of especially our clays and our mineral sources for animals. And we have used our herbs also. Mm-hmm. Whenever they're sick, or sometimes we'll have a certain amount that just goes into their food if we can mix it in a way that they'll eat it. Mm-hmm. And then in the garden, we do have some agricultural amendments, soil amendments, called the silica-rich, which is the pyrophyllite clay in a more granular form. It's sort of more of the overburden. It's got minor mixtures of some forest debris, and it's yellow because it's oxidized, and so it's the overburden that's used in the garden. And then the pyrophyllite clay itself, as you dig deeper, you find a medium to a grayish blue, and that's the human version that gets milled down for the sacred clay. Then, but in the garden, the silica-rich is utilized to remineralize your soil. It helps to reduce the pathogenic fungi and bacteria and enhance the beneficial microbes, bacteria, and fungi. And it enhances growth and development and the health of the plant. So if you have a healthy plant, it will not attract bugs or disease nearly as readily. Then we have a liquid formula called Liquid Gold, and it has a number of our mineral products in it, along with your basic humic acids and a number of other biological components and fungi and so forth. And we have some ormus-bearing clays in there, which does wonders for the health of a plant and making it bug-free and making it bright green and grow at all times of the year and flower more often, etc. So Liquid Gold, applied occasionally on the garden, does wonders for your plants.
Golly, just sounds so amazing. I love it. If we can kind of get rid of our enzymes and our hydrochloric acid and start taking some of the bitters, I think that's going to be a lot better for us. So I'm going to have to give that a go. It sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Michael, for being on the show. I appreciate that a lot.
Yes, and my pleasure. And I really appreciate what you're doing, Justin. It's just getting the word out on things that are so important today.
Thank you so much. Would you mind holding as I close out the show?
By all means.
Oh, thanks, Michael. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on another edition of Extreme Health Radio. That was a fascinating interview. Not sure if you've heard all that information about Candida, but go over to Vitality Herbs and Clay and get on the mailing list and get that book. I think you'll really enjoy it. So thank you again for joining us. And I just wanted to ask you, if you found value out of this show, would you do me a favor and click like on this show page? I'd really, really appreciate that. That is extremehealthradio.com/41, and that would help to spread the word. We're kind of relying on all you listeners to help spread the word and pass it on to your friends, and follow us on Facebook and all that good stuff. So again, thank you, and thank you to Mike Adams of naturalnewsradio.com for having us on his network. And also, we've got a mailing list ourselves. stuff. If you want to join, feel free. And we've also got a great store with lots of great products like blenders and dehydrators and physical products and e-products and courses. And so check out our store. We've got lots of great stuff there for you too. And thank you so much to our recent people who have been donating. We really, really appreciate it. That's a big part of our way that we can stay sustainable. So thank you for that. You can donate as little as $1 if you like, and we would appreciate that. But if you can't, no big deal. I know money's tight these days, so just enjoy our show, pass it around, and learn as much as you can. And if you have any questions, email me